This is a very interesting talk. We have a new president, and his policies are going to affect real estate. It's going to affect so many things. And I just learned this piece of Chinese philosophy, so I want to share with you. Is that there's always going to be changes, right? Changes is going to create cracks. It's like, so think foundation. If you have the crack and over time it gets bigger and bigger, it's bad, right? But if you're looking at this as an opportunity, when things are actually kind of opening up, if you can stay on top of the trends, then you can actually make a lot of money. They were using an example of things happening. There's some kind of economic crash. I think it was it was about 20 years ago, where the Thai currency went down, and then it kind of created a chain global effect, and that was the beginning of the economic crisis. And so somebody made a lot of money through that crisis because he knows this thing change is coming. So okay, so without further ado, let's talk about the changes. So this slide, what we have is, if we look at the volume of commercial real estate transactions, right? What the trend is, it has trended down in 2020. I think that's what I get from mainly this. But if you also kind of look at around 2008, 2009, that was where we had the big recession. Next. So each of these gray bars that's vertical is a period of recession. And so what you're looking at the top is the rental vacancy rate. As you can see, in 2020, so a couple of, so many things you can get from this chart here, because you can see how it was doing during the previous recessions. The vacancy was going up for the rental vacancy. But here in our more recent recession, it came down and then it starts coming back up. I think there's a lot of reasons. Everybody know about the eviction memorandum that's trying to, reduce the homelessness in the world, or in America, because we wanted to stop the diseases from spreading. And so you can see that, not much eviction. Eviction has become a hot topic amongst a lot of landlords. And then also, if you look at home vacancy rate, it has also come down. I think that's one of the biggest trends, right, that real estate investors have been talking about. Next, please. So here, if you look at the price of the asking rent, it shot up a lot. Everybody needs a home. The housing market is piping hot right now. Inventory is very low, and everybody wants to be in a place, right? Next, please. So I kind of mentioned this earlier. The housing market is so hot. Inventory is very low, and so all the houses are getting bidded up. A lot of houses are going out of the market within a couple of hours, and there was this one home that I was looking at in Irving, here in the DFW area, Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it had 20 offers. Next, please. Quarterly ownership rate. So this one, if we kind of see the on the period of the recession, I actually, to be honest with you, I did not quite have a conclusion out of this one. It looks like we shot up in through the year, and then it's starting to come down a little bit. So people are having more ownerships. More people are buying homes, is what we're saying. A little bit more. Next, please. Okay, so 3 key effects. So these are kind of the reason we're here. I wanted to talk about the 444 biggest things. The first thing is 1031 exchange. Jason, Matt, and I were just talking about it right before this webinar. This 1031 exchange is big because, for high incomers, they may cut it. And the words are pretty. I think the signal was pretty strong that if the proposal gets passed, it's gonna get cut for the real estate investors that are high income earners, and this is gonna potentially decrease the supply for these investors because the investor will choose to hold the property and not sell it. So maybe I wonder if everybody is familiar with the 1031 exchange. Let's talk about that. I want to hear some engagement from our audience. 1031 exchange. What is a 1031 exchange? Maybe we can have a guest explain the 1031 exchange for us. Okay, so maybe I'll explain that, and maybe I'll call out Tim next on the next one. So 1031 exchange is when you make a capital gain on real estate. There's a period of time where you can work on do this program where you don't have to pay taxes on capital gains tax. So real estate investors were making money through capital gain, right? So if for the higher incomers, if they can't get the tax incentive is driving them to want to hold the properties longer. Hope that makes sense. Next, please. Yeah, we're getting from the audience. If you guys look at the chat, it explains better than what I did. Okay, the next one is the environmental regulation. So nowadays, these are the 3 keywords. It's sustainability. It's green energy, green and clean energy. So anything that helps with the environment is going to be in. There's a lot of programs that incentivize these type of programs. It's about sustaining. Next. Okay, so Biden also has promised additional spending. They have pledged $5.4 trillion in additional spending to stimulate the economy and push the retail. Next, that's why I put that. Okay, so the last one is the opportunity zone. And what the opportunity zone program allows you to do is to invest your capital gains for a property when you sell real estate, and actually maybe even other type of capital gains. I was always thinking about real estate, but for real estate investors, let's say you have the capital gain, you can invest your capital gain in the funds that invest in the opportunity zone. And there are very, very strong tax incentives for you to do so. Like you can write off some taxes. And I think if you leave your money in there for over 10 years, and I didn't catch it very well, but what my understanding is that the entire capital gain can be eliminated. Now, what this incentivizes people to do right now is to invest in high-end buildings. Because if you make a lot of big capital gain, you can go in there. It's basically like a gentrifying area, right? They're identifying this opportunity zone to, they're I guess encouraging a lot of money to go into the zone to gentrify the area. And so right now they are incentivizing too much high-end development, and they're going to be changing the policy to encourage more affordable housing and more communities in that area. Yep, that's all the notes I have for this slide. So that's it. That's the updates. Oh, okay. So maybe we should we be talking? Or should we be discussing? I think Jason, you had something that you wanted to share earlier on the 1031 exchange. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think it's kind of one of those avenues that have been kind of a privilege that investors have had, and that is a pretty big change to take it away. So it could affect a lot of different investing models, or just kind of like the frequency that you do sells, and just like little things. And um,
And the
yeah,
market is
so
hot. You know, the
right.
market is hot right now. Inventory is so low. If this passes, then what happens is I'm not going to be interested in selling my investment properties. You know, and there's going to be lead to even less inventory. We're going to drive the real estate like real high. That's what I think. You know,
Yep.
we're
And then
just
if the bubble
discussion.
bursts, so like if inventory starts coming back, then prices are probably going to fall. So I mean, then you start playing the game. Should I sell everything now? And then like you kind of run into that limit a lot quicker than you would normally if you're holding for appreciation and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and if for those of you, for our attendees, if you have something to discuss, or if you have your insights, your comments, or any suggestions about the discussion for today, please do raise your hand so I can allow you to talk, and you can join the discussion with Steve, Jason, and Juan.
You know, I thought COVID was going to have at the beginning, like May, somewhere around May, June. I thought COVID was going to have pretty negative impact on real estate, and in particular, we had two major projects that were going, and I really thought I was a bit nervous, and then what I saw was real estate investors becoming really creative, and I think that's something that's starting to become more of a trend, and I don't see it as a fad, but more of a trend that real estate investors are looking at, and I think investors in general, but I think we're starting to look at how can whatever happens, how can I use it to benefit my investments, and whether we hold it longer, whether we sold it in bulk, whether we go and purchase more, whether we do new builds or rehabs or whatever. I think that the exit strategies we are starting to create or discover more and more creative ways of exiting the certain investments, and I think that creative investors will find a way to make their mark, and I think becoming part of a really good real estate investors group. I think also being able to have data immediately or more immediately, quicker data, better deals, more things out there, being able to use tools like Real Estate IQ has, those kinds of things are going to make are going to be what's going to help investors, people who stay on top of the market, people who pay attention to what's happening, what are the trends that are going around globally. I think are going to benefit, no matter what administration is in the White House, or even what Congress looks like, who controls Congress or not. I think people can become really creative, and these are those moments where we kind of really have to sit down and think about how can I be creative.
Yeah, it's like where are the change coming, and how do we feel that change, or how do we like adjust to that? I think that's crucial.
Yes.
But yeah, I see a lot of investors are doing very well right now. I just talked to this new client in Tampa. and he got 2 deals under contract, and he already assigned one, I think, within like 30 days of, using our product and using our data and getting the thing. So we're gonna ask him for a testimonial. Next,
Definitely.
please. Soft plug for Real Estate IQ. I think we had a question. The question is for opportunity zone investing. Can I repeat the gentrifying a little bit? So gentrification is when I guess I don't know. I hope I'm not using I want to make sure I'm using PC words. Gentrify. This is live, isn't it?
Gentrification.
Gentrification. I'm gonna be stuttering on this for the longest time now. This is gonna become my no. I will get past this mental block. So gentrification. Am I doing it? We're gonna keep going. The gentrification is about when an area, I guess, is going from a little kind of more like older area. A lot of times they want to like redevelop an area in downtown, for example, and they would do things to encourage more investment in the area. And so this is what this our opportunity zone is all about. Is like, hey, put your money here. We're not gonna tax you. Basically, we're gonna give you a big tax break to encourage more money to get in here. And so they're gonna be developing that opportunity zone over time. Maybe in 10 years or so.
And if I could add to that definition just a little bit, it's the process when basically an old rundown neighborhood starts improving because of all of these incentives and stuff like that for people to go there. So it encourages wealthier people to move in, it encourages businesses to move in, and the area goes from, an old rundown area to a newer area with wealthier people.
It's a trend that happens. It's kind of cyclical. I mean, there are neighborhoods who start off really nice and eventually fall off. People ran to the suburbs and they started going to the suburbs, and people moved out because the urban core, a lot of negative activity was happening, and so people moved out. And then as cities started to realize, hey, you really want to bring investment back into the downtown areas and things like that, they started allowing, like you said, you give tax incentives, all these kinds of things, bring in industry, you start putting those things into place. You get restaurants, you create areas of space where you allow shops, you create different kind of investment where you allow residents above commercial property underneath, and those kinds of things. So people start wanting to see that. And Austin, when I first moved to Austin, the downtown area became a ghost town at 5:30 in the evening. I mean, it was everybody was gone. That was in the 80s, and now you go downtown at all hours of the day or night, and there's hustle and bustle because people started to develop that down. And then now that's actually eased to the east of I-35, where East 35 used to be not only a physical but a psychological border, and now you have a lot of these mixed communities happening. So where gentrification is a detriment, I think, sometimes to more impoverished communities, it also creates the opportunity for cities to really do some creative ways to keep both higher end homes and moderate homes in, so that the diversity stays in place. And I think that cities are starting to see the benefit of both communities coming together. So I think in a sense we're learning. We don't have it quite down yet, but we're learning from it.
I think that's very well said. I also wanted to add that I think real estate investors, a lot of fix and flippers, the gentrification area is kind of that area where you can go in and get value and create value. I think I think I see a benefits for real estate investors to do that, because it's just kind of that's where the opportunity is. Next question: What do you think about real estate market when the eviction moratorium ends? Who wants to talk about this one?
Well, I know that I know most of the investors that I've talked to that have buy and holds have been receiving their rent just fine. Or if somebody had trouble, they work with them, maybe they reduce it a little bit, make an agreement. I only know one person who had somebody who just flat out stopped paying. And back when they lifted it very briefly in August or September, sometime in there, they lifted it briefly and then they put it back in place. He filed for eviction, and then the person called the court the day of their appearance and said, I was exposed to COVID, so I can't come in. And so he was really wanting to offload that property. So I think there's going to be a lot of people who are landlords who are going to want to offload those properties that have not been paying.
I think this is a really cool discussion, because now we are looking at the potential of I guess I feel okay. So I'm making a bold prediction, so please don't hold me to this. But they're talking about extending the timeline to September, and I think as long as COVID is still around, or unless the majority of our population is vaccinated, I feel that they probably wouldn't be. I think they will keep extending it. This is just my thoughts. And I also so another one is, we're talking about this. We are also going to be talking about the forbearance. The first wave of forbearance application is gonna come up by the end of March. So they're expecting, I think I read 1.5 to 1.6 million houses that they're going through forbearance. So what's going to happen there? That's going to be a huge inventory of houses flooding the market. So good opportunities, but what does that really look like? What's going to happen?
The question in the chat was, I think, very similar to the one in the question. As what do you see? Greta asked, what do you see as a fallout when the moratorium on evictions are lifted? And I think both Becky and Steve were addressing that exactly. I'm one of the folks who worked with. I worked with my wife, and I worked with our tenants. On several people lost their jobs. I mean, it wasn't like they didn't want to go to work. It wasn't like they didn't want to pay the rent. They lost their job. But one of the things that has happened is that those people became even more committed to doing what they could to pay their rent, because we worked with them for a good while, where we even removed rent for a couple of months from them, so they didn't have to worry about that. They need to put out food on their table and things. And those people were like, whenever it's time to sign up again, we're gonna re-up the lease. And they have been great tenants. And I don't foresee that changing. So I think there's a flip. I think there are some people who are taking advantage of it, but that's just gonna be the nature of how things work, and we have to work within that system. The foreclosures, some people think that the moratorium keeps them from being foreclosed on, and so as investors, we have have to be kind of, again, very astute in speaking with folks and saying, you're not being removed from the home, but the foreclosure is still happening. At some point, you're going to be asked to leave, and now you have all these fees. And the longer you stay in the home, the harder it's going to be. And so I think helping those people get to the point where it's like, yeah, we'll sell you the property, but in that process, being good investors and saying, hey, we're going to help you find a place that you can afford, or we're going to help you move, or those kinds of things are, again, creative ways to help people out, because investors have a really bad have a bad rap. We sometimes get that bad rap of, you're just trying to take my house away, but it's really how can we be creative to help people in a bad situation and improve their situation from what they are currently. I didn't understand rural housing in demand going forward. Can you expand on that? Let me check if I'm saying that correctly. I apologize if I'm butchering your name. Can you expand on rural housing and in demand going forward?
I'm guessing maybe he's referring to a trend that people are moving away from the urban areas where they're living so close together. Because of COVID, they want a little bit more space and want to, have a little space between them and their neighbors. I think that's what you're asking, how much of that is going on. I don't know how much. I know it's happening.
People moving from the urban areas and look. Yep, that's what he's saying, and looking for affordable housing.
I just spoke with this a young career, early career lady. I think it was today or yesterday, and she works in New York, and now she lives in Utah because Manhattan very, very expensive, and in Utah, you're away from everybody too.
So
I think it'll depend too, like on how, when things kind of go back to normal, if companies will keep the remote type work, or if it'll be more back in the office setting every day.
Are you asking the question, or are you making that statement?
No, I was just commenting. Yeah, I think it's still like, it's hard to predict anything because we don't know, like, I mean, if people have the opportunity to work remotely, then yeah, I'm sure it would make it more sense to move out. But until we know for sure how people recover.
The only prediction I guess I'm willing to make on that is that I don't think we're going to go back to what we called normal. I think that's going to take a really long while, but I think I think we're moving more and more towards. I think this disruption has caused everybody, companies, corporations, you name it, even individuals, almost to what Facebook, I think maybe wanted to do, where they wanted people to connect. Zoom, the Google Meets, these kinds of conversations. You can have virtual conversations with people around the globe, and come and meet and create and create different opportunities. So I think the new norm. I think the norm is going to look more like we have right now. I that's my prediction, mind you. I am not Nostradamus, so.
I also kind of I would personally say that within our organization, because we have a lot of folks remote, and I think through this technology, I think we're also as an organization learning how to work together better, because everybody is forced to work online virtually, and I think we're learning how to do that better. There's always been issues with remote working also. But I think over time we're getting better.